And the red light will come on.
Rather than so first of all, thank you for coming. I know it's kind of gross and nasty, so thanks for getting out and coming up today. Hope everybody found it okay. No trouble with parking. So I'm going to talk. I'll try to keep it under an hour. As I go along, if you have questions, just holler at me, wave at me, throw things at me. Also, when I present, kind of what I like to do is take what works for me in my classroom and share that with you. So hopefully when you leave, you'll have some ideas that you can put in place in your classroom tomorrow. I don't think I have anything grand and life-changing, but I have what works for me in my classroom. So hopefully you'll have some ideas that you can take back and will help your classroom. And after I finish, anybody who wants to, you're welcome to walk down with me to see my classroom. It's just down the hallway, so everybody can walk there. So, my name is Greg Smedley Warren. I've been teaching for 9 years. 6 of those have been in kindergarten. Someone asked me earlier what other grades I taught. I've been in 5th grade for a year. Then I got moved to 2nd for 2 years. And then, forcefully, against my will, kicking and screaming, I was moved into kindergarten. And when I say kicking and screaming, I mean I was 31 years old, and I called my mommy and cried. Like, kindergarten was not what I wanted to do. But my very first day of kindergarten, I fell in love, and I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And if you don't know, I do have a blog, Healthy Kindergarten Smorgasbord, so I hope you check it out. I'm also on Twitter and Instagram, so Twitter and Instagram, follow me, message me if you need anything. So we're going to talk about classroom management today. The biggest key to effective classroom management is relationships. You can't get them to do what you want them to do until you have those relationships. And I always like to start off talking about my little friend Fire Drill. If you read my blog, you know the story of Fire Drill. During our very first Fire Drill of last year, after hours of practice and we've talked about it, we're ready, she literally runs out of the building, waving her arms, screaming, "It's a fire! It's a fire!" And so Fire Drill is born. And I always start off with Fire Drill because she was one of those kids who came on that first day and I said, "Good morning, what's your name?" And she went, they didn't know her name. And so we literally started at a negative. And quickly I realized that she wasn't like everybody else. She was very quirky, had a very different personality, and was a very outside of the box person. And so I had to make a decision. I could kind of squish her into that kindergarten box, or I could just let her be her. And so I built a relationship with her and got her to trust me. And because of that, I was able to take this little girl who started the year with nothing, literally didn't know her name, and by the end of kindergarten, we were reading on grade level. That wouldn't have happened if I didn't take the time to build those relationships with her, to get her to trust me, and to embrace her for who she was. That relationship is so powerful that when I bought a new car over the summer, I bought this big neon green Jeep Wrangler. It sits in the back parking lot, the kids see it every day. Early in the school year, Fire Drill says, Mr. Greg didn't tell me he got a new car. I hadn't told her about my car. She didn't know that was my car. And her teacher said, "Well, how do you know that's Mr. Greg's?" And she said, "Oh, I know him, and that's so him." So the power of those relationships. Classroom management starts with relationships. They have to know that you care about them, that you love them, and that you respect them. Once you have those pieces, everything else comes a little bit easier. The next 2 biggest things to effective classroom management: expectations and routines. You can ask my kids, "What does Mr. Greg expect from you?" And they will tell you to be the very best. Not just the very best in the classroom, but the very best in the entire school. And I tell parents that on the first day and at open house. I expect my kids to be the very best kids in the school. Whether we're at lunch, or in the gym, or outside at recess, or on a field trip. I want you to be the very best. From day one, I set that bar extremely high, and they work extremely hard to meet that. They're expected to be the best, and that's what they are, most days. Most days we're okay, we're crazy and wild, but most days they really are some of the best kids that I work with. The other thing, routines. My kids are trained like robots. They know what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. And if they don't do it right, we stop, we practice it, we do it again. We have routines for everything in the classroom. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. They're so well trained that I've had visitors in my classroom who are amazed that when our cleanup song comes on, that everything is cleaned up, everything's put away, everybody moves to where they need to be, and I never say a word to them. It's all about expectations. I expect you to do it, and we have the routines in place, and they do it. Those expectations and routines come with a lot of modeling and a lot of practice. The key is to put the time in at the beginning of the year. I know people are like, oh, but we've got to teach all of this. Yeah, but you're not going to teach all of that unless you've got the classroom management. Put the time in at the beginning of the year, and you make up that academic learning time later in the year, and you'll make it up 2 or 3 times. Model it, model it, model it. Then have the kids model it, model it, model it. And another trick, model it the wrong way. Show them the wrong way to do it wrong, and let them talk about what was wrong. How did it go wrong? Why did it go wrong? And then you talk about ways to fix it. Then you model it the right way. Model it, model it, model it. We can't expect them to know what to do without showing them what to do. And now it's the end of the year in kindergarten. You know, they're so independent. Most days I'm like, they don't even need me. Like, I could stay home, they would be fine. And then I think, ooh, it's almost the end of the year, we've got to start all over next year. And they're not going to be trained. I think about how important it is and how far we've come. And it's all about that modeling, modeling, modeling. And then practice. One of my biggest pet peeves is the hallway. And if we're not in a straight line and quiet, we go back to the classroom and do it again. Oh, we're still not quiet? We're going to go back and do it again. Practice, practice, practice. When we're not doing something the way we're expected to do, I'll stop and we'll fix it, and then we go on. Because I don't want them to get in the habit of doing it the wrong way, or not being the best that we can be. So I model everything, and we practice everything. Practice, practice, practice. Hello. Hi. There are snacks and everything if you come in, so help yourself. So what routines do I teach? Everything. If I want you to do it, if you're expected to do it in the classroom, I'm going to teach you how I want you to do it. Everything. Even opening and closing Ziploc bags. At the beginning of the year, that's a lesson that I teach. That's a routine and a procedure that I'm teaching. Because I want them to know how to do it. We practice it. We get it down, and we're ready. Then we're ready to start centers. So I teach them everything I want them to know. So in our classroom, we use 5 rules, and these come from Whole Brain Teaching. These are the only 5 rules that we need. Follow directions quickly. Raise your hand for permission to speak. And that one in our classroom is not one that I'm big on a lot of times because we have a lot of discussion and we do a lot of interactive read aloud, so we're talking a lot. So we've learned to wait our turn to speak more than raising our hands at this point in the school year. Raise your hand for permission to get up. Again, you'll see in a little bit, that's not something that works in my classroom, but that's something I want them to know when they're in other areas of the building. Number 4, make smart choices. And then number 5 is the most important rule of all. Because if you're not doing number 5, we've got a problem. Make your dear teacher happy. It covers everything. Because if I'm not happy, somebody's not doing something right. And if I'm not happy, you're not going to be happy. And for each of these, there's a little hand motion. So for rule number 1, follow directions quickly. So if you ask my kids what the rules are, they'll say, rule number 1, follow directions quickly. Rule number 2, raise your hand for permission to speak. Rule 3 is raise your hand for permission to get up. Rule 4 is make smart choices. And then rule number 5, and they'll tell you, the most important rule is to keep your teacher happy. That's it. 5 rules. Makes it easy for them. It's easy for me. And with rule number 5, you cover everything. Because at the end of the day, you've got to make me happy. So Here they are. Rule number 1.
Follow directions quickly.
Rule number 2.
Raise your hand for permission to speak.
Rule number 3.
Raise your hand for permission to get out of the seat.
Rule number 4.
Make smart choices.
And the most important rule of all, rule number 5.
Make your teacher happy.
So we practice those rules every morning starting on day 1. And even this morning when we were getting lined up ready to go to the gym, we practice the rules. So even though they know them and they're ingrained in their brain, we still practice them every day. Because I want them to constantly be thinking, these are the rules, this is what Mr. Greg expects, this is what I need to be doing. So this is our daily schedule. We are an enhanced option school. What that means is that we have small class sizes. K3 averages is a cap at 15. This year I have 13. And I think that's pretty standard for, I think all 4 kindergarten classrooms this year have 13. And then we have the extended day. So we go an hour longer than other elementary schools in our district. So we start at 7:30. We have breakfast in the classroom. And then you can see our day. We have a 90-minute reading block. We have an hour and 15-minute math block. In the afternoons, we have RTI, and that's when we're able to squeeze in some of our art and science enrichment stuff. And then we dismiss at 3:45.
Do you keep your homeroom for RTI, or do you split?
We keep our kindergartners. The only ones who leave are the Tier 3. So the Tier 3, they go with our reading interventionist for 45 minutes in the afternoon. So they get pulled out, but the rest of them stay with us, and that's when we do the enrichment. So for enrichment, we do a lot of writing, and we try to tie that into some science and art.
Do you have Tier 2 in your room at that time as
I
well?
have 1, yeah, so they're in the room. So they get their time later on with some one-on-one time with me at a different point in the day. Yeah. So the only ones who leave are Tier 3. And we only have like 7 of them this year, so we don't have a lot. So they just go with the interventions at that time. So that's our schedule. So 8 hours with the kids. We started breakfast in the classroom in January, and that has helped a lot with a lot of the transitions from the cafeteria in the morning. So that's helped some of our behaviors. And it gives you a few extra minutes to pull kids, to talk to the kids, see what's going on. You know, those kids who may need a little bit of extra help, you've got a few extra minutes in the morning during breakfast. People in your classroom. And in my opinion, the most effective thing I do in the morning or during our day is the arrival in the morning. It's smooth, it's consistent, they can do it independently, and it doesn't require anything from me. And because of that, they're starting their day off in a very positive way. Everybody is successful when they come in the morning, and so it really sets the tone for the day and makes a tremendous difference. I think that is the biggest key to the success of my classroom, is that morning arrival procedure. It starts the day right, it puts everybody in a happy mood, everybody feels like they're going to have a great day. Like I said, it's exactly the same every morning, and it doesn't require anything from me. So as the kids are arriving in the morning, I have music on, and Leah can attest that usually it's really loud. And so these are some of the songs that we play on our morning arrival playlist. And this is going on from day 1. And I get a lot of people asking, well, aren't they singing and loud, and doesn't it get them riled up? Not really. They sing along to some of the music, but it's never anything loud or out of control. And research tells us that we don't want classical music or lullabies playing in the morning, because that puts kids to sleep. So you want upbeat, fast tempo music to get them excited, to get their blood pumping, and get them ready for the day. So these are some of the songs that we use in our classroom. I just put them in iTunes, and hit shuffle and let them play. So this is our morning arrival procedure. They come up, we have hooks in the hallway, so they put away their backpack, they greet me, you can choose a hug, a handshake, or a high five. They put away their folder, they move their picture, so we have interactive whiteboards, and I have their pictures on one side that says home, and on the other side it says school, and they slide their picture from home to school. That's how we take attendance. Then they get their breakfast. After breakfast, they work in their journals, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in just a minute. And then if they finish their journals, they can read quietly. So same way, same thing every morning. We started on day 1. Everybody knows what to do. Everybody comes in and does this. This is the key to the success of my classroom. I really think this makes a tremendous difference. They don't have to come to me and ask what to do. They're not roaming around with nothing to do. They have all these things to do. They know that they better be doing them. All right, ready? So what I've done is I've numbered, and this was more for the beginning of the year, but they're still up in my classroom. I've numbered what I wanted them to do to kind of help them remember. So put away their folder, move their pictures. The reason that these were out of order at the beginning of the year, we didn't have the hooks in the hallway, and so they actually had to put their backpacks in the classroom, and then their journal. So at the beginning of the year, just kind of numbers, they knew 1, 2, 3, 4. If they forgot, they could find the next number. So just visual, they're 5, they need lots of visual reminders. I'm 37 and I need lots of visual reminders. So that just made a big difference for them. And still up to date, so I can be like, did you do number 3? So we use differentiated morning work in my classroom. And the way it works is at the beginning of the year, we start with name writing. For the first couple of days, everybody's just practicing writing their name. I want to see who's going to be. They're very happy for those last couple of friends once they earn that journal. So once they earn the journal, it starts off very basic. It's the name and a picture. After a couple of weeks, I add in the date. So it'll be your name, the date, and the picture. And for the first couple of days when they're doing the date, I actually write it with a highlighter and let them trace it. And then I'll stop doing that, usually a week or so, depending on how they're doing. And as the year goes on, it's still their name, the date, and the picture, but then they're slowly adding in some labeling, and then sentences. So at this point in the year, it's their name, the date, a picture, and a sentence, or a sentence or 2. But it's the same every morning. Either you're writing your name or you're in your journal. So they don't have to come to me with morning work or a worksheet and say, what do I do? Well, what do I do here? They don't need me. They're doing it all on their own. It's completely independent, and it's differentiated, so it's meeting their needs. So you can see this one where I had the date and he traced it. And then having that incentive to get to that journal is a great motivator for them to really work hard on learning how to write their name. The longest that it's taken somebody to get their journal was February. And that was this year.
Yeah.
But we worked at it every day. And every day he would say, I kind of want my journal. And so I was able to say, you've got to get this, you've got to work on your names. And he worked on it and worked on it and worked on it. And boy, in February when he got that journal, we turned on that music and we had a dance party for him. And then, it's a powerful lesson because he never really gave up. He got frustrated a few times, but never gave up, and he worked so hard and finally got there. And it's great to see the rest of the class gather around him and really celebrate that. So that's morning work. So the same every morning. That's that consistency and that independence that they need. So this is what it looks like as they're coming in. also before breakfast in the classroom. So now the breakfast is sitting on my table and they grab their breakfast.
How dare you? Hi.
Reaching out, they're trying to find their journals. Some of them it takes a long time. On purpose. So that's how we come in the morning. So they'll sit down, work on their journal, and then when they finish, they're reading books. They can read books from the classroom library or from their book bags. So then we move into morning meeting. And I think morning meeting, and here in Metro, it's mandated, so everyone is supposed to be doing it. I'm a huge morning meeting fan. I think it builds great community. I think it's a great way to start the day. Everybody comes together, you talk about what's going to happen, this is our day. The kids get to greet each other, you get to greet the kids, and it gives you that plan for the day. So if you're not familiar with morning meeting, there's a greeting, there's some sharing, then there's a quick activity, and then a morning message. So some of the greetings that we use, this one we'll use in the spring, it's a baseball greeting. So they would pick a card, and it says triple, and so they'd go to the third person and greet that person. If they picked a single, they would go one person, and if they picked a grand slam, they would go 4 people. We do numbers and sight words as our greeting, so I just stick little labels on them. So instead of greeting by name, I would say, "Good morning, 13," and then they would say, "Good morning," whatever my number was. So, it's pulling in a little bit of academics, but still working on those social skills, getting to greet each other. We do some science during our morning meeting. So this one, it's hot, it's cold. So they look at the person and they say, "Good morning, Emily. Whew, it's hot." And so they pick their little thermometer, and so the red ones are hot, the blue ones are cold. And so if it's cold, they say, "Brr, it's cold." Just a little bit of science and having a little fun with the greeting. Here's some other of our greetings. We are here. Everybody chants, "We are here, we are here. It's a great day because Emily is here today." So everybody gets that little chant for their name, makes everybody feel excited. Follow the leader. So as we go around, we say good morning, and whoever's turn it is, they do a quick activity. They might hop on one foot, touch their toes, and then everybody has to follow the leader. French fries is one of our favorites. So instead of saying good morning to the person, you say French fries. So you might say, "French fries, Leah," and Leah would say, "French fries, Mr. Gregg." We do the ball toss, great for some of that fine motor and gross motor skills. And it's great for listening and paying attention, or you're going to get hit in the face with the ball. So they pick somebody in the circle, they greet that person, and when that person greets them back, they can toss them the ball. And then again, at the beginning, when we first do this, we spend a lot of time practicing tossing, not throwing. We do our scary voice greeting, another one of their favorites. The problem with scary voice is they think scary voice means right here. So then we have to talk about personal space. So they just go around and greet each other with the scary voice. So you've got a bunch of 5-year-olds who are walking and sounding like zombies during morning meeting. This is one that is new this year, and they beg for this one. So everybody takes off one shoe. When it's your turn, you pick a shoe from the pile, you find who that shoe belongs to, and you greet that person. They love it. This is one we're doing today. I'm here to say, so it says, "Hello, or hi, my name is Mr. Gregg. I'm here to say I hope you have a very nice day." Then everybody says, "Hi, Mr. Gregg." So we go around, everybody says the little chant, and everybody gets greeted. With some of these, like I'm here to say, we are here, I actually have the words written out, so they're reading them. So they're kind of getting a little bit of literacy, building a little bit of fluency because we're reading it so much. And then another favorite is hit the floor. So we go around, we greet each other, and when it's your turn, you hit the floor. and you come out into the circle and you dance. And you know, some of them will break it down, and then some of them are like, so those are just some fun ways to change up the greeting instead of, you know, good morning every morning. And they get some movement in there, they get to have a little fun, which is a fun way to start the day. So then we have sharing time. The sharing time is great for some of those speaking and listening skills that are so hard for some of our kids. On Monday, everyone in my classroom shares one thing about their weekend. And again, this is something that I have to teach them and model for them and set the expectations. Sharing is not story time. This is not make-believe time. This is not talking about what you want to do or what you think you did. This is we want to know what you did. I know 13 of you did not go to Chuck E. Cheese on Saturday. So this is what you did on the weekend. So we just go around quickly, we share one thing, including me. I always share something that I did over the weekend. And then the rest of the week, Tuesday through Friday, 3 people get to share. And this is their time. They can share anything they would like. Again, it can't be made up, it can't be make-believe. This is a story time. We want to know what's happening in your life. So we get 3 people to share. And you know, you get a lot of honesty during this time. And so you learn a lot about what's going on in the lives of your students, and kind of gives you a feel of what's going on with them that morning, so you can kind of meet their needs, find out, you know, they might be acting a little off this morning. This is a great time to find out why. So after you share, we ask questions. So I might share, I went to the park. So then, if you have a question, you give a thumbs up. And so then I'll start calling people to ask questions. Now at the beginning of the year, we're not asking questions. We're telling stuff. Oh, you have a question? Well, I went to the park when it's not a question. So we spend a lot of time early in the year with those who, what, when, where, building those question words, and it takes a long time to get to the point where they're asking really good questions. So that's our sharing. And then I do thumbs up. Because you all know if somebody went to McDonald's, the rest of the class is like, oh, I went to McDonald's, and ooh, I like McDonald's, and oh, I had a hamburger at McDonald's. So what I try to do to eliminate some of that is if somebody shared they went to McDonald's, I'll say, ooh, give me a thumbs up if you like McDonald's. So it kind of gives everybody a little bit of a chance to be excited about McDonald's or Chuck E. Cheese. Or my favorite is I had a little girl on fall break who went on a cruise, and everybody in my class kept telling me they went on a cruise. I'm like, no, you got on this cruise with Caitlin. I didn't need to go. So another thing that we do for sharing, instead of sharing sometimes, we started doing would you rather questions. Would you rather questions are great to build higher order thinking. We had Jen Jones from Hello Literacy come to the school back in the fall, and she did some training for us, and one of the things that she trained us was the word because, not the word why. The word why has negative connotation, and so when a child gives you an answer and you want them to explain it, what do we generally say? Why? When someone says why, it feels negative, and so you shut down. And so we've been working really hard to change from why to because. So we'll do a lot of would you rather questions. So earlier this week we did, or last week we did, would you rather be a crayon or would you rather be a pencil? And so they had to share, I would rather be a pencil because, or I would rather be a crayon because. So they have to give their answer and they have to use the word because. And we've come a really long way with this. I had a lot of really thoughtful reasons as to why they wanted to be a pencil or a crayon. At the beginning of the year when we first did this, it would have been, I want to be a crayon because it's pretty. But because we've done it, we've worked on it, they've come a long way. So instead of sharing, we might do would you rather. And they love these. They have a blast with these. And it's building that higher, even in kindergarten, even with the little guys, it's important to get them thinking. Because we use this all day long. when somebody gets in trouble, they have to tell me what they did, and they have to say because. So we've really tried to integrate that throughout our entire day. And then I'm like, Mr. Greg is mad because, so even I use it with them. So then we have our activity. So we do a lot of I have, who has, which are, I have, who has is a great way to get some academic practice. We play Zoom. So you're sitting in a circle, and I start, and I look to the person next to me, and I say Zoom, and then they look to the person next to them, and they say Zoom, and it goes around the circle. And the goal is you want to get as fast as you can. So a lot of times when we play Zoom, I'll pull out my phone, and I'll time it, see how long it takes us, and then I'll say, okay, it took us 8 seconds, and we beat 8 seconds, and so we'll go a lot faster. The number game is another favorite. Beginning of the year, everybody's standing up. We might count to 10. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and if you're number 10, you sit down. We'll start over until we have one person left. Then we might go to 20. And now we're practicing counting by 5s and 10s. And if you're number 100, you have to sit down. We do a lot of quiz, trade. And then we do a lot of sentence and word building as our activities. So I'll pass out cards with letters, and they have to find their partners and their group to make a word, or they have to find their partner to make the sentence. So the activity is designed, you want to get them up and moving a little bit, get a little energy out, but you can also pull in some academics. And then we have our morning message. Morning message, concepts of print, lots of letters and sounds, working on handwriting. You can pull in some academic skills. And really for me, the most important part of the morning message is that plan for the day. It lets them know this is what we're doing, this is what's happening today, this is what's going on. So they kind of know what to expect throughout the day. A couple of our morning messages. At the beginning of the year, I'm writing all of it. As the year goes on, the kids start taking over some of the writing part. So this is, I'm going to let you watch this. I've taken a morning meeting and kind of cut it down into a few seconds of each piece, so you'll kind of see what it looks like. Oh no, this one is just the writing part. So you can see the kids are writing, and what you can't hear is the rest of the class is spelling each word. So as they spell it, she writes. And this is also differentiated, so depending on whose day it is, there might be less blanks for them to fill in. And again, scaffolded. Slowly, over the course of the year, I step away and let them take over. Now this is a morning.
Good morning, Mr. Gray.
We always start our day with?
Morning meeting.
And morning meeting always starts with a?
Meeting.
All right. Jamie and Ferris, Joshua and Caitlin, Nicholas and Annalicia, Audrey, Romy, Jaron and Leah, Leah and Carrie. Let's read our greeting this morning. Everybody ready? Great reading. Here we go. Hello, neighbor. Hello, neighbor. What do you say?
It's going to be a great day.
Greet your neighbor. And we're ready. Ready? Boogie on down. After greeting, great job. After a greeting, we always have time to
Share.
I need respectful listeners and respectful speakers. We'll start with Joshua. He doesn't share a lot. Questions about your trip to North Carolina? Leah? All right.
Good morning, Mr. Greggy.
There's some great readers this morning.
R-E-G.
And why does it have an apostrophe S?
That's where you ask that again. Good
Let's have of what our morning meeting looks like. This one didn't have an activity because I counted the greeting as the greeting and the activity because they were up and moving around. So these are some books that are great if you're interested in a morning meeting. They're on Amazon. So that's kind of how our day starts. And like I said, that's, in my opinion, that's the reason that things go so smoothly in my classroom. That's that consistency, we've built that community, we know what's going to happen that day, everybody's had a successful morning for the most part. That did change a little bit once we introduced breakfast in the classroom, but it hasn't made that big of a difference. It's actually, they come in a little bit calmer since they're not in the cafeteria with the 3rd and 4th graders, and they're not transitioning as much. Any questions about the morning so far? All right, this is one of my little tricks that I hope you take back to your classroom. We all know about quiet signals. I'm sure you clap, you might have music, you can do the lights, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I don't like any of those, so I use a wireless doorbell. And here's my button. So I went to Walmart and bought my wireless doorbell. It plugs into a regular outlet. Hot glued the button onto a clothespin. And anytime I need them to get quiet, I push the button, the doorbell rings, and they stop. They put their hands in their lap and they look at me. Something we started on day 1. There's that expectation. I've gone over the procedures. We've practiced it. It works like a charm. The best thing about this is that even if you're not in the classroom, it will work. So if you step out, you want to blow their minds, ring the bell, and they're like, but what I love about this is it's a peaceful noise. I don't have to be louder than them to get their attention. I don't have to turn on music. We're not clapping. So we're not creating more noise. We're stopping the noise, getting everybody to stop and look at me. I can say what I need to say and they can go on. So they know the routine, they know what's expected, and they do it. And there are sometimes we have to do it 3 or 4 times before everybody's like, oh, that doorbell's ringing. And they will work for a Skittle. So you put, oh, you were the first one ready, here's your Skittle. Skittles, little miracle workers. And then your friend doesn't hear every Skittles. For the wireless doorbell, one of the best things I've done in my classroom. I do use a flip chart. I know there are people that are not a fan, but I still use ours. In our classroom, it's off to the corner, so it's not visible out in the middle of the room. I like that the clip chart is visual. They're 5. They need visual reminders, so it's good for them to kind of see how their day is going. It's fluid, so you can move up and down all day. I like that it starts in the middle. We don't all start at the top of our day. We don't all start at the bottom. We always start in the middle. There's a lot of buy-in in my classroom and with the parents, and I think that's important. The parents love it because it's easy for them to understand. I use clothespins, and I put their pictures on the clothespins. Because we know at the beginning of the year they can't all recognize their name. We use the pictures. I like that it gives them ownership. In my classroom, I don't move anybody's clip. It's not my clip, it's not my behavior. So if I ask you to move your clip up or move your clip down, you go and move your clip. And that little piece in my mind gives them a lot more responsibility and ownership than if I went and moved their clip up or down. And then it's great for parent communication. So we have little behavior calendars, and at the end of the day, the kids, again, it's their behavior. They have to color their calendar, and then it goes home. And I've sent home a copy of the chart to the parents so they know what all of the colors are. So I'm a fan of the clip chart. I try not to put it out in the middle of the room. I don't want it to be this big public thing, but it works well, it's effective, and parent communication is a lot easier for us. This is something that I get asked about more than anything else. The seating in our classroom. This is another thing this year that is new, and I think it has been tremendous in the behavior in my classroom. I have less behavior issues, my kids are more engaged, and they're more focused. And I think the seating in our classroom plays a big difference. We have no tables and no desks. Everything we do is on the floor. I have bath mats that I bought at Walmart and Target and clipboards. So everything we do is on the floor. I've seen a huge difference in my kids from last year and this year. I have one little boy this year who likes to lay on his stomach and kick. Even during calendar time and whole group stuff, he will sit on a bath mat at the back and on his stomach and kick. But I guarantee you, he is more engaged in that lesson than most kids. If we were sitting in chairs or at tables, or if I was requiring him to sit in that circle, he'd be distracting us. He wouldn't be allowed to move and do what he needs to do to be focused. So this is what my classroom looks like. So the bath mats. I have my guided reading table, and you see 2 tables. This was on the first day of school, and I was a little nervous. Wanted to see how this was going to go, so I did keep 2 tables, but this table is now gone. It went so well from day 1 that I will not go back to tables or desks. It has been tremendous. And, I get a lot of questions about first grade. My argument to that is we sit in chairs in other classes, and music and art. We sit at the tables in the cafeteria. So they're still practicing, they're still exposed to the chairs. So it's not going to be something completely new to them in first grade. Also get questions about writing and handwriting. And there's research that says kids who lay on their stomach actually have better handwriting because it forces them to use their muscles differently in their hands. So I've noticed an improvement in handwriting. So pretty much everything we do is on the floor. So here we're doing, we're making a hat. So they're coloring, cutting, and pasting on the floor. Down here we're painting. So we're painting on the floor. We try to stay on the white tiles, but I also have shower curtains from Walmart. Found them for $1 in the clearance section. And when we're painting or doing something really messy, I'll just spread those out on the floor and we sit on those. Yes?
Where do they keep their like supplies?
Helps so much because, like I said, they can fidget, they can move and not bother people. But I also think that the freedom of choice empowers them, and that empowerment gives more buy-in to what we're doing. They love that choice. They can take those rugs, and they don't even have to use a rug. It's their choice. They can sit anywhere. They love that freedom and that choice. There's still a lot of structure and routine built in, but they have that choice and the freedom of where to sit and how to sit. They can lay down, they can sit on their bottoms, they can sit on their knees, they can stand on their heads. I don't care as long as they're working and engaged.
Do you have like immediate buy-in from parents and administration, like how did they?
One of the secrets of our building is our principal. I'll go to him and say, I want to, and he's like, okay, go. Like, I don't even really have to ask him, but he was on board immediately. And on the first day when they were bringing their kids in, the parents loved it. I've had a lot of parents this year who have been a big fan of that. No, I've not had any parent complaints. The question in the winter when we didn't have heat was how cold is the floor? And because we have the bath mats, that helped the parents' concerns with that. But the parents have loved it. I think parents love it because they see their kids' behavior is better and they're more engaged. Yeah, and the principal loved it. Parents are on board.
So you just keep their mats like somewhere and they
Yeah,
go
we
wherever
have,
they want?
and let's see, but we have, I bought 2 laundry baskets
Okay,
and they just roll them up.
so they
I
can
mean,
just go get one if they want?
Yeah, they get whatever they want. They don't have assigned ones or anything. And again, so there's another routine. We had to practice how to safely unroll the carpets and roll them back up because if we're not careful, we want to do this and smack our friends in the face, or we wanted to just pile them in to the basket. So we practiced that. And even, a couple weeks ago, we had to stop and go back over that, and everybody got a rug, and we practiced how to do it. I also get a lot of questions about the carpets themselves. What I've done with them a couple of times I did it when I first bought them, and I did it again at Christmas, is I take them home, and you know you can buy that Lice Shield shampoo? I just put them in the washing machine and put some of that in there. I mean, I don't know if it works, but I'm like, it's worth a shot. And then I spray them with Lysol at least every Friday. You know, if somebody gets sick, I'll pull them out and spray them again. But we've had no issues as far as cleanliness or anything. So everything is on the floor. The rugs came from Target and Walmart. The reason I bought them at Target and Walmart was because I wanted the rainbow, and I had to go to both places to get the full rainbow. So we have community supplies, so we don't have supply boxes or anything. So if they need something, they just go back here and get it. Keep the clipboards in a laundry basket also, and then I have a couple of those for their carpets as well. And again, routines, procedures. At the beginning of the year, we practice how to get each one, how to put it up. We have our math manipulatives, so we practice how to take the drawer out, make sure everything's back in there, how to put the drawer up. So everything that I expect them to do, there's a routine for that, there's a procedure for that, and we've practiced it and they know what to do. We have a cleanup song, so anytime they're working, usually in the mornings and in the afternoons during literacy and math workstations, because we're not allowed to call them centers in Metro anymore. So I know some people are like,
I've never heard that.
oh yeah, we found this out a couple weeks ago. Like,
Why?
okay, so this is how I work. So when somebody from the district comes in and says, you can't do this, or you have to do this, and it's something ridiculous, like I'm not a rule follower, and so we're in a meeting and they said, well, you can't call them centers anymore because the older kids think centers are play and they think they're babyish. So we want you to call them workstations. And so I'm the kind of person, and I said, really? Like, first of all, somebody in central office has way too much time with me. Secondly, what does it matter? Like, if centers works for us, great. 4th grade, call them what you want. I said, you know what? I said, I'm going to call them hippopotamuses. And so I went back and told my kids the story, and so guess what we call them now? Hippopotamuses. Like, it doesn't matter what you call them. You know? So we have hippopotamuses, no more centers in our classroom. So we have a cleanup song. And they know when this song comes on, it's time to clean up and line up. And this is one of those times where I can tell how well trained they are. Because I can start walking towards the board to turn the song on, and they're already cleaning up. So my classroom theme is mustaches, because I love mustaches. And so our cleanup song is a mustache song.
There's a mustache on my face.
Of course, by now they know every word, and so they're singing along. Somebody was actually talking to me about this when they first came in. One of the things that drove me crazy when I first went to kindergarten was the bathroom. My first year in kindergarten, that bathroom was disgusting. The floor was constantly soaked. I'm like, there's not a sink in there, so I know what it is. And I did everything I could do to get those boys to pee in the toilet. I mean, I went as far as to say, look, you pee on the floor, it gets on our shoes. We walk around our classroom. The pee gets in our classroom. We put our hands on the floor. The pee gets on our hands. Then where do your hands go? In your mouth. You're putting the pee in your mouth. Nothing. Would not work. So then we came up with the toilet spider. So you can see him right there. There's our toilet spider. So what I do at the beginning of the year, before the bathroom has been used, I put on my gloves, I go into the bathroom, I get on my knees, because I want to be at that 5-year-old eye level, and I draw a spider. On day 1, I take the boys into the bathroom and I say, look, we have a spider in our toilet. Your job all year is to pee on the spider. He is still there. He's a little bit faded, but guess how many times people have peed on my bathroom floor since I introduced the toilet spider? Pretty much 0. And I know, I know parents use Cheerios a lot and stuff, but something about that spider and those boys in their mind, they are peeing on that spider. It's just a regular Sharpie. I think you're telling me that the custodian keeps scrubbing it off, you have to put it back on. I try to tell the custodian, hey, don't get rid of our spider, but he fades and goes away, so sometimes I have to go back in there, and now at this point of the year, I'm not getting on my knees. Like, I've got my 4 pairs of gloves on, and I'm like drawing the toilet spider, trying not to touch anything. But I do have to tell you a story. The toilet spider is very effective. Like, our principal has talked about having him drawn in all the toilets and all the urinals in the building. I'm like, look, I am not drawing anything on the 3rd or 4th grade bathrooms. So last year I had a little boy. Something about the bathroom terrified him from the beginning. He wouldn't close the door. So anytime he was in there, everybody saw everything that was going on. And he was terrified of the spider. Terrified. He was peeing on the wall. Like, terrified. Wouldn't close the door and pee on the wall. But that floor was dry. He didn't pee on the floor, he was peeing on the wall. So I got rid of the spider last year and drew a bullseye. It worked just as well. Once we got him over the fear of the spider and got him to stop peeing on the wall, he was fine. The toilet spider. It's life-changing. Another quick tip is a rubber band around the hand sanitizer so they can only get a little bitty squirt. No matter how hard they hit it, just a little bit comes out. So it's great. They have little bitty hands. They don't need 4 squirts of hand sanitizer. It's not really sanitizer. It's sanitizer.
Sand sanitizer.
Earlier you heard me talk about being in the hallway and my pet peeve about the hallway. So I'm big on a line and lining up. So we do the DuckTales, the bubbles, and the marshmallow toes. And at the beginning of the year we do a little thing with marshmallows. We use our 5 senses. We talk about the marshmallows, and we drop the marshmallows and talk about what we hear. And then we work on marshmallow toes. The key to lining up is number order. Like, you're in the same spot every single time. Every time, no matter what. Fire drill, you're in the same spot. That's just where you line up. And that eliminates a lot of problems. We're not fighting over who's the line leader. We're not fighting over who's in front of me. We're not racing to try to get in line to beat somebody. We just line up in the same spot. So I've used these little carpet squares for number order. Last year I did paint chips from Lowe's and ran them through my printer and stuck those on the floor. I taped them down with clear tape. Also have this little owl in my room. His name is Mr. Who. He's a puppet, and his head spins all the way around. And so if we're really having some issues in the hallway, I'll put Mr. Who on, and I'll walk in front of the line, and I'll turn him so he's watching. And then, who's not doing the right thing in line. I have a couple of boys in my class that 99% of the time, I know they're probably goofing off if I'm not watching them. And so I'll stop, and Mr. Who will talk to me, and I'll be like, Jamie, Mr. Who says you didn't have your hands behind your back. He's like, So Mr. Who helps when we really need a little extra motivation. And they think he's cool that his head spins all the way around. And they're still convinced that he's really talking to me. Another little tip that will save a lot of time and stress is having little trash baskets. So we just have these baskets from the Dollar Tree, and anytime we're cutting, they're spread out across the room. So anytime they cut some paper that's trash, it just goes in the basket, so we don't have paper everywhere. It was great when we were at our tables, but it's even more important this year, since we're on the floor, that we don't have piles of paper everywhere. And at the end of the day, somebody just takes them and empties them in the recycling bin. We use Responsive Classroom. We use a lot of the teacher talk. If you're not familiar with it, I know with most of us, I think in Metro have been trained, but the teacher talk, or your teacher language is, instead of saying, please sit down, it's more of a direct sit down. Not in a mean way, but just, this is what I want you to do it, sit down. So we use the take a break from Responsive Classroom. So we have a spot in our room. We also have take a break in another classroom. If you're at that point where you need them to take a break, or you need a break. So it's not a punishment. It's 1 to 2 minutes, and you can see they have a little timer. I found it at the Dollar Tree, so they flip it over. When the sand is out, they come right back. The key to the take a break is that it's in a spot where they can still see and hear everything that's happening. If you don't know that they're thinking about it, didn't make good choices, I need to think about my choices, so they're sitting out for a minute or two, but they can still see and hear everything that's happening. Really important so they're not missing out. If you're teaching something, they're not missing out on that. So mine just sits in the back by the window, and a lot of times they'll look out the window. Just kind of a calm down, think about it for a minute or two, and then come back. Sometimes we call it take a vacation. I have a friend who likes to call hers Alaska. And so when the kids need a break, they go to Alaska. And that's another one of those procedures and expectations from the beginning of the year. I take a couple of days, I explain to the class what timeout is, what take a break is. We talk about how if you go to timeout, you're not in trouble. I just want you to stop, calm down for a second, think about it. We'll talk about it later. But I want them to understand that it's not a punishment. And so what I do the first 2 weeks of school is every day I send everybody to timeout or to take a break, just to practice and just to get used to going, turning the timer over, just so they're used to it. They realize that it's not a bad thing. I'm not in trouble. Mr. Gregg isn't mad at me. We just need to. And I send a letter home explaining to the parents how we use it. But I think letting them practice it at the beginning is key for them to not be like, oh my God, I'm in trouble. Go to Alaska. Early in the year, I want to make that strong connection with the parents and with the homeschool connection. And I think that's huge in classroom management and behavior. So we read this book called Big Plans. And then we do our hopes and dreams. If you come to my classroom when I'm finished, you'll see our hopes and dreams. So we talk about our big plans. And I tell them that I have big plans for them in kindergarten, and then they share their hopes and dreams for kindergarten. So what do they hope to learn? What do they want to do in kindergarten? And I write everything down. Right? I mean, so, we've got the typical, I want to, I hope to read books, hope to learn how to write, I want to learn how to be respectful, I want to learn how to play. Last year I had a little boy who wanted to learn how to ride a pig. And so I used this kind of as a guide for myself, because I kind of want to make sure everybody gets their hopes and dreams, if it's possible. Well, I tried really hard to get a pig, but I couldn't get a pig. But I did find a stuffed pig. So one day I got the stuffed pig out and rode it around the classroom. So Alex got to learn how to ride a pig. So we met his hopes and dreams. This year a little boy wanted to learn how to make a rocket ship. So what we're going to do in May is we're going to do a space unit. And at the end of that unit, we're going to build a model rocket. So it's good for them to talk about what they want to learn how to do in kindergarten, but it also gives me some ideas for the year. And I incorporate a lot of these into my planning. So I want them to see that this isn't just talk, like we're really going to do this stuff. So we do that in the classroom. And then I send home a letter to the parents explaining to them what we're doing. And I ask the parents to write their hopes and dreams for their kids. So they sent back a letter saying, this is what I hope they learn in kindergarten. This is what I want them to do in kindergarten. So then what I do is I take the child's hopes and dreams and the parents, and I put them on puzzle pieces, and I put the puzzle pieces together. And I hang them on our door, and I make this big puzzle. It stays there all year. It's a great way to show the families that we're in this together, that we're all working together. And it's a great way to start out the year, because it's something the parents, they want to do. They want to feel like they have a part in what's happening in the classroom. And we go back at the end of the year, we read all of these, and we talk about if we did it, or, did we come close. And if I do have kids who don't bring back the parent part, I write something for them, so that everybody has a puzzle piece. But every year I get almost 100% participation with this. But it's something we do at the beginning of the year and just really makes a tremendous impact. So I have to call parents, like we've already been through this process, and so they're not hearing from me just because it's something bad. Another thing that I've done in my classroom is on Mondays, I put out sharp pencils, and we have a drawer full of sharp pencils. There's also a drawer for broken pencils. So I don't sharpen pencils during the week. I only do it on Fridays. We have buckets around the classroom. So if if their pencil breaks, they're trained to put it in the broken drawer and get a sharp pencil out. Just little things. I don't have to deal with the pencil sharpener. I don't hear the pencil sharpener. They're not asking me to sharpen pencils. They just go, get what they need, and get back to work. A lot of independence, a lot of problem solving all day long, and I'm not doing hardly anything. They're at the point now to where they don't need me, and that's what you want when you're thinking about classroom management. So at the beginning of this, I talked about the power of relationships. You also have to have a lot of fun. Like our classroom is very structured and very routine, very routine driven, but we have a lot of fun. Relationships are key. You have to let them see you be fun and goofy. You have to let them know that, you know what, I'm kind of crazy, and that's okay. So my kids love the fact that I love to dress up. So we learn about bats, I dressed as a bat. When we did the letter S, it was Crazy Sock Day. I wore my crazy socks. On M, it was Mustache Day, so I wore my mustache shoes, my mustache socks, my suspenders, and my shirt. For T, it was ties, tie-dye, tiaras, and tutus. So I wore all of those. We do an ABC boot camp at the beginning of the year. At the last day of boot camp, we dressed in our camouflage. On Fridays, we do Mad Science. So I always dress as a mad scientist. W is Wig Day. When I introduce subtraction, it's the 5 little monkeys, so of course I have to dress as a monkey. St. Patrick's Day, I've got to be a leprechaun with green sparkly shoes. Gingerbread Man, I had to be the gingerbread man. So it's all about relationships. This is fun and silly, and we have a lot of fun with this, but I think it makes a big impact on the kids and really brings us together. And it's those relationships that is the key to that effective classroom management. My kids are so used to this. When I dressed as the gingerbread man, they were in another classroom and I came in. The other classroom was like, oh my God, Mr. Ray is the gingerbread man. And my kids were like, he dressed up again. And I had one little girl who was like wouldn't have anything to do with it. No questions?
Your letter boot camp, I love this, like classroom management, but since you mentioned it, how do you, now that we're towards the end of the year, how do you feel it has worked as opposed to, because before you did letter of the week, right? Okay.
So, real quick, what we did this year instead of letter of the week was we wanted to get through the letters and sounds quickly, so we could kind of move on to putting those together and reading. So we did a ABC boot camp. So we started the first full week of school, and we did a letter and sound a day. We started with A, went all the way to Z. So it's 26 days, a letter a day. We did handwriting. We did a circle map. So we came up with pictures that started with that sound and that letter. And we made a hat for every letter. And then we tried to do a fun little activity for every letter. We had a blast. At the end of the boot camp, we did a fashion show. Every kid got a vest made of a grocery bag with a letter. And they took it home and decorated it with different pictures for that letter, and then we all got to walk the runway. Tremendous difference from letter of the week. All of my kids know all of their letters and sounds. Last year, I still had some kids at this point in the year who didn't. So I think it's key because we get them out of the way, but we still do them every day. We still do letters and sounds every day as part of our literacy routine. So they're exposed to them all year long. Of course, they're in centers, they're practicing them in centers. We use them during the morning message when we're writing the morning message. So they're exposed to them all day, but they're out of the way at the beginning. And that allows me to kind of focus on the ones, those letters who we're struggling with, and then I can really pinpoint my instruction for those who still need a lot of letters and sounds. Yeah, so it was tremendous difference. And then what we'll do starting next week is we're going to go backwards. So we'll start our countdown, we'll start with Z and start working our way back to the last day. If you ever need anything, there's my email, you can feel free to email me. Thank you guys for coming. I hope that you all got some ideas that you can use. Like I said, if anybody wants to see my classroom, I'm more than happy to walk you